just getting the web onto all those mobile phones is important because, well, one, there's actually more of them. There are more browsers on phones by a large number than there are browsers on laptops. And two, because in developing countries it's really exciting because that is the only way that a lot of people will actually get to use the internet at all.
On its 20th anniversary, the founder of the web says it's still in its infancy. So what sort of changes lie ahead, and what about the future of the web in poor and developing countries? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Mariam Namazi. The 13th of March 1989 is the day Tim Berners-Lee wrote a paper that laid out his thoughts for the World Wide Web. 20 years on, it's changed the way most people interact, do business, meet people, shop, work, and even entertain themselves. Now, while the words the web and the internet may be used interchangeably, they're not the same thing. The internet is the hardware and software that connects computers. The web is one of the services communicated via the internet. It allows us to view web pages that may contain text, images, and videos. So how popular is the web? Well, the numbers speak for themselves. More than 1 billion people logged on to the web in December 2008. That's according to Comscore, a company that tracks internet usage. And there were at least 186 million websites listed at the end of last year, with at least 1.3 billion email users worldwide. And on average, about 210 billion emails were sent per day. So why is the web so popular? Well, quite simply, it's information. It means anyone, anywhere in the world, can access and share any kind of information. But there is a downside to that as well. The credibility of online information can be questionable, and this leads to issues like fraud, misinformation, and propaganda. There's also very little control on what makes it onto the web. For example, last year, a man in the UK killed himself live on an internet webcam. Plus, the technology allows web pages to be blocked, and this can be used as a censor tool by many governments and organisations to block information not in line with their agenda. Well, joining us today are our guests in Doha, Joy Ito, CEO of the non-profit group Creative Commons, one of the web's leading thinkers and writers on a number of cutting-edge technologies. In Cairo, Lawrence Pintack, a journalist and director of the Adams Center for Journalism at the American University in Cairo. Also in Cairo, columnist, radio presenter and blogger Marwa Raja. Thank you all of you for joining us. Lawrence Pintack, if I can start with you, how would you describe the impact of the web? How has it changed the way we live and the way we work?
It's certainly changed everything about the way we live and work. It's changed how we gather information, and it's created, I might say, an overload of information. We are drowning in information these days, and one of the challenges in journalistic terms is to separate the wheat from the chaff. What's pure opinion, what's vitriol, and what's information you can rely on?
Joy Ito, I want to ask you about rogue websites, because almost anyone can set up a website and they can start collecting money for whatever cause or whatever product that they're trying to sell. They don't need a license, no questions asked.
So I think that the internet, just like any new technology, requires a lot of literacy, both on the parts of the people creating stuff and the people who are consuming it. And I think that as the internet evolves, just like when a child is growing up, you get sick a couple of times, but you build an immune system. And I think we're still very early days in terms of becoming good at filtering those kinds of things, but we'll get better.
But you can't actually police websites, can you?
You can try, but the harder you try, it often actually fans the flames. And so the typical sort of top-down control often, in most cases, doesn't work.
Marwa Raja, we heard Lawrence Pintack touching on the issue of the credibility of some of the information that's out there. The web has given a voice to the average web surfer. It allows pretty much anyone who's anywhere to put their view on the web. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
No, that's a very good thing, actually. I think everyone is entitled to having a voice and everyone is entitled to having an opinion. I'm very happy with how citizen journalism emerged on the internet, and all the blogging and the live blogging and the microblogging All of those things gave people an opportunity to voice themselves, and that is very important. I think that is a pro.
Lawrence Pintack, do you agree?
I think it is. Marwa and I are both sitting here in Cairo, where media has been very constrained for many years, as across the Arab world. And bloggers like Marwa are pushing the envelope. They're shouting from their electronic pulpits things that people always used to just whisper behind closed doors.
But then how do you separate fact from fiction? Do you think that many of the people who log on to a blogger's site, for example, know that this is someone's opinion and not necessarily fact?
And there's the rub. As Joyce said a few minutes ago, the issue of media literacy is very, very important. We constantly have this issue right now here in the Arab world, where bloggers and journalists are being blurred together in the perceptions of people's minds. There's a big difference. And educating the public to separate the fact from the fiction, to separate the political activists who use the web, very important tool for them, and the journalists who are providing fact-based information. It's a critical issue.
Joy Itu, how can you trust the information that you get on the web? How do you know if a particular website is trustworthy or reliable, or if the information is just garbage?
Well, I'm on the board of a network of blogs called Global Voices, and we do a lot of peer review. We have regional editors, and Wikipedia is also a very good place where we have a lot of peer review, but it's about giving certain credible bloggers more authority and focusing attention on that. And if I could add one other thing that's very important, is it's not just about facts. I think that one of the big problems is that we don't care about each other enough. So the U.S. doesn't care enough about this region. And I think that to solve what I call the caring problem, having real people's voices and having I think voice is actually more important than votes in many cases, and personality and point of view, even if it's not completely accurate, is often better than facts in getting people to understand and even care about reading the news.
Lawrence Pintack, is there a kind of a digital divide now between those who can access the web and those who can't? You already have many people in the world who don't have things like water, electricity. Is there now something else that is cutting them off from the world economy?
There certainly is. There's no doubt about that. But internet penetration rates really are growing. I saw a figure just this morning of 10 million people here in Egypt out of 80 million who have access to the web. Well, that's certainly not everyone. There certainly is a huge divide, but the penetration rates are increasing. I want to go back and touch on one thing Joy said, though. I found it interesting when he talked about media literacy and separating fact from fiction and using the word Wikipedia in the same breath. This is, to my mind and many others, an example of the problem. A Wikipedia is not an encyclopedia. It is not something you can trust. There's a lot of great information there, but you or I or the guy down on the street pulling the donkey cart can go on and post information, and all of that is read by the readers equally.
Well, can I disagree a little bit? So on the very important articles, I think the average time that you can have vandalism left there is really minutes. And I think it's about media literacy, because the rule of Wikipedia is that you cannot do any primary work on Wikipedia. Every single fact on Wikipedia must have an outside citation, and it actually relies on the mainstream media for the most part. So I think you have to look at Wikipedia not as an encyclopedia, but as a portal to other media where you're going to actually go for the primary research.
Joy Itu, I want to raise one other issue, and that's to do with privacy, because the web inventor, the man himself, Tim Berners-Lee, has said that a person's browsing habits can be monitored as if there's a television camera in the room watching you there and then. Does this kind of progress come at a price? How concerned should we be about online privacy or the lack of it?
Right, so I think privacy is very much like the environmental issue. I think it's going to get worse before everyone really realizes how bad it is. I think it's in a terrible state right now, where our software and our services really give governments as well as companies the ability to monitor everything. The problem is that unless the people realize that this is something that they want to protect and that this will cause things like racial and political profiling, I don't think it's going to get better.
Time for a short break now, but when we come back, we'll look at the power of the web for protest and activism. Stay with us.